Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay on your ground. You bustin' your rounds, nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason. It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back.
Okay, that Black and Ripple Effect is, and you already know the vibe. Shout out to all the supporters. I appreciate y'all, the new subscribers. Y'all really taking off on TikTok and watching the videos, and I really appreciate that. Check out the store on Etsy where you can get some gear like this. That's the Ripple Effect WK dot, all caps, no space. Made it super easy for you guys, so just check it out. You know, if you're not interested in getting anything, you know, pass it along to a friend. You never know. Holidays are coming as well. You know, want to get into that, gifts and all that. I'm gonna be doing some giveaways as well, but we gotta get into it, guys. I'm just gonna say this, like, I'm up, you know, late, I gotta do some reading and other things, and it's about 2 in the morning, and I'm seeing all these notifications flashing on my phone, and I'm like, here we go, because you know the NFL trade deadline is coming up, and you know, that's kind of where my mind is at. Am I necessarily thinking about the NBA when it's coming to major breakthrough trades? Not necessarily. I'm not going to lie, it was kind of on my mind because when they said James Harden is back with the 76ers, not playing, but he's back with the team, you know, and I'm like, he's back with the team when they're playing who? Clippers? Yeah. Man, I mean, James Harden is officially with the Clippers, along with PJ Tucker, and we'll get into that as well. And, you know, the details of entailing that trade and how it even came about. But I was stunned. At first, you know, I thought it was a joke. You know, when you follow this stuff, whether it's NBA, NFL, or everything in between, you want to make sure that you're not just looking at one source and kind of just running with it. That's not really the way I roll. If I come up with something fast, like if you see me on Instagram or Facebook and I'm just like throwing information out there, it's probably because I probably already heard it from like 5 other sources already. Like, you know, whether people is hitting up my phone like, yo, did you hear that? Yo, this and that. And because there's some people who are like really tapped in. You know what I mean? Like, and I hear from those people on top of the other notifications that I have on various sports apps. And when you see all that, I'm like, nah. And usually I don't go on video that late, but nah, I gotta do it because this is James Harden to the Clippers. Do you know how big this is? I mean, it's big for a number of different reasons. And I'm sorry, Laker fans, but I gotta bring this up. You know, LeBron is on a minutes restriction. You know, we're still trying to figure out what type of player Anthony Davis is gonna be. I know a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? We already know what type of player Anthony Davis is. You know, he's top 75, all NBA, blah, blah. Not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about face of a franchise leading the Lakers to a championship. People are still trying to figure that out. Now, nobody's talking about whether he has the ability to do it. I mean, you're not even watching the game if you're even having that conversation. We already know he has the ability to do it. It's whether he's going to be able to do it to sustain an 82-game season, along with, you know, 16 wins to, you know, in order to getting that illustrious championship. And has he done it? Yes, but he's done it with LeBron, right? And LeBron is on a minutes restriction, and it doesn't mean that LeBron is not going to be able to contribute. He's going to be able to contribute, but not in the way in which already 2 games into the season he's breaking that minutes restriction. That is not sustaining. You know what I mean? Like, after a while, you know, I mean, come on, Father Time really is undefeated, y'all. You already know this personally. So it's like, why even test that? That's why Darvin Ham implemented that. I'm sure it's probably a guideline, like everything else. I'm sure they're going to use their judgment, you know, when it comes to certain games, because, you know, you don't want to go on a losing streak. And I know a lot of people had a lot of questions about Russell and, you know, and what he's going to be able to do. And he had that bounce back game last night, so I know a lot of people stopped talking about him. People really, it's funny how people are funny. Like, they only talk about you when it's bad, right? Like, and they're like ready to trade you. But when you do something good, they're kind of like, oh, like kind of like he's supposed to do that. Like, stop with that. Stop. He put in the effort. If you're gonna say something negative, then you gotta say something positive when he does something positive. Like, keep it even, keep the same energy, either way. And the reason why I bring up the Lakers, obviously, because you got the LA Clippers that appear to be loaded. Now I know people are gonna be like, oh, there's only one basketball and this and that. James Harden already showed you, you know, what he can do in playing off the ball when Chris Paul was in the top. He already answered a few questions for you, even when he was with Brooklyn. You know, and he had Kyrie and Kate, and I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, for 2 games. Yeah, it was for 2 games, but we saw that he has the ability to do it. And you have to understand, like, there's no way they're coming together. I mean, with Kawhi and Paul George and all these different things that they have going on. You can't tell me that they didn't already have that discussion on roles and, you know what I mean, and who was going to be able to fit. Now, to me, it's all about health. But when healthy, Paul George, Kawhi, and James Harden, bruh. And then you got a dog like PJ Tucker, which, bruh, like, it's gonna be. I'm telling you, it's going to be crazy. Because right now, I'm watching the Lakers struggle against the Magic. No knock against the Magic. I love the way these guys are playing. From Van Kero to Cole Anthony. You got this other kid, I can't even forget his name, but the point is, these young guys were balling last night and almost took that game to overtime against the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers were they were using all their energy last night. I watched every minute of that game. You know, it's the beauty of NBA League Pass, you know, or NBA TV. But I'm telling you, like I even told you when we was discussing preseason, stop acting like these teams are coming out of nowhere. They're not coming out of nowhere, guys. They've been doing this for a while. These organizations that are young, you know, they're building towards something. I'm telling you, like, you have to watch it. Or you just got some teams that seem to just pick up where they left off no matter who they added onto the roster, like the Golden State Warriors and what they're doing with CP3, which I heard he's going to be coming off the bench now, which we knew, you know, once Draymond comes back. And, you know, Steve Kerr, he likes to play around with lineups in the beginning. And usually he has that freedom to do so because somebody's usually, you know, injured or, you know, he's not a stranger to being forced to just, you know, change up his lineup, you know, especially when Steph got hurt, you know, a season ago, and so beginning and when he's already trying to, you know, figure out what the rotation is going to be, because, you know, for a coach, that's the number one thing. That's your number one goal. You want to see what works. You want to see what guys you can narrow down to like an 8-man rotation, you know, and keep it like that. You know, sometimes 9, sometimes guys will really, you know, go towards the end of the bench to really see what they can do. But other than that, that's really what it is. And Steve Kerr has found it, and it's so easy to find that cohesiveness in a team, mainly because when you have a guy like Chris Paul, who's already proven, we can go back to when he was with OKC, when he was with Houston, it does not matter. Wherever the Pelicans, wherever CP3 was, he knows how to adapt. And by the way, was with the Clippers, and you already know with CP3 seemed like he couldn't catch a break when it came to that. But we have to remember, like, I'm bringing all of this up when it because it does pertain directly to the Clippers, because the West is gonna get crazy. Like I said, barring health, the West is no joke, guys. It's not a game. You see the way Zion and the Pelicans are playing, and they're gonna figure it out too. I know a lot of people are, you know, they have their own. Health is a big thing. You see Chet and what he's doing. Just the NBA in general. Just watching these young guys grow and see what they're gonna be, and Wembanyama over there with the Spurs, and just watching the young guys. Like, it's not even just him. If you look at the team and the way they play, we just got to see the Clippers play. I think that's what it is, because a lot of people are still kind of on the fence and still trying to figure that out. But I'm not even like. I mean, you know what? I'll address the elephant in the room, because I know a lot of people like drama, so you want to talk about the drama, right? So you can't believe, I know a lot of people, not everybody, not me necessarily, but because I understand how business works, but everybody just sees James Harden as antics, right? He doesn't like it, you know, with Brooklyn, and I'm sorry, I kind of understand that. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I do understand that. Do I understand with the Rockets? No, no. I think that was James Harden being James Harden, and at that time had that relationship with Daryl Morey where I think they were just trying to help each other out, and that's why he followed him over to Philadelphia. Um, and that does get messy when you do have that type of friendship with your boss, because at the end of the day, your boss has to be a boss and not your friend, and I can see how that can mess things up. But yeah, James Harden, yeah, he forces his way out of places and seems to get his way. I know a lot of people just want him to be out of the NBA, and I don't mean a lot of people. I mean, that's probably like a few people who want to be that drastic and say, I want him out of the NBA, I want him gone. But I think a lot of people just didn't want to see him get his way. And that could be for a lot of different reasons. That's mainly because you don't get your own way in your life, so you don't think it's fair. But at the end of the day, when you're a talent like James Harden, I mean, I'm not exactly surprised that this happened. But I know a lot of people are sitting there saying, like, this guy, they're going to probably start, saying that, he's not good for the locker room. He's only going to be happy for a year or two. When things don't go his way, he's probably going to force his way out. Well, I mean, there's only some things I can really speak to, because the reality is you really don't know what's going on in that locker room. And I can tell you right now that if your boss lied to you about whether it was a promotion, about something where you were supposed to get paid, or you were supposed to get transferred to wherever you wanted to get transferred, whatever department, and that didn't happen, don't act like, and you had options and you have that leverage where you can sit here and go to another company or go here, go there, and be able to pursue those opportunities. Stop it. You would do it too. Like, I'm just like, shut it down. Like, don't look at somebody else's situation and be a hypocrite about it. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, you will be a fool not to. If that's ultimately what you're trying to do and that's what you're working towards, and you've been working your whole life for this, and that's what you're trying to do, and you're gonna sit there and say that I'm not gonna pursue it, I'm just gonna sit there and, you know what I mean, and just be lied to, and kind of feel like you're being taken advantage of. And don't get me wrong, James Harden could have went about this situation way better, way better, way better. Maybe get a trusted, I mean, there's so many podcasts on nowadays. I mean, he could have sat down with somebody and kind of portrayed his story, instead of being in China, kind of saying Daryl Morey's a liar and making it go viral. And I don't really, I mean, come on now. Like, I mean, these guys are a walking brand, especially a guy like James Harden. I mean, look, you're in China and you're representing not only, Philadelphia at the time, you're representing yourself, you're representing the NBA, representing America in a sense, and that's what you say, like, come on, like that honestly, I mean, that wasn't the right move. He could have went about that a better way. Excuse me, especially if he was really lied to. Like, we can't sit there and gloss over that and act like he should have just put up with that just because of prior mistakes. Yeah, he probably did make prior mistakes in how he went about, getting out of Houston, and that I'm not even going to dispute that. He definitely did. He definitely could have went about that another way. But when you're lied to and it has to do with your livelihood, and you only got like a couple more years, 5 or less at least, I don't see him, you know what I mean? And so it's like, these next couple of years matter. Where he plays, how much he makes, all that stuff, you really start budgeting. You're not getting any more like supermax contracts and and things like that. And I know he has all these other off the court endorsements and sponsorships and all this and that. So that's fine and well. But when you're talking about for the NBA, you have to try to understand. If you want to understand, if you don't want to understand, I totally get it. I mean, that's your prerogative. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to understand the guy, you should be able to understand at least that piece of it, or at least have some appreciation for the fact that, I'm only be doing this for a couple more years. I can't really afford for anybody to lie to me right now. I mean, I'm making business decisions based off of what this man had told me. You know what I mean? And when it pertains to his contract and where he'll be playing and for how long and things of that nature. All that stuff matters. You think that doesn't matter when he's talking to other, sponsors, when, playing time matters, when you're on the court and you're wearing the product and different things like that a lot of people probably don't take into consideration, which is why a lot of people tend to wear certain things the way they wear them. And trust me, and I'm moving into that space on a micro level, so I do understand it, you know what I mean, to some degree. So it's like, listen, James Harden is not perfect, and I'm sure Daryl Morey isn't either. But at the end of the day, James Harden got what he wanted. Why? Because of his reputation throughout the league in his production, and he sold them. I mean, the Clippers. What is it, Steve Ballmer? I mean, they're trying to win. You got to think about Coach Lou, man. You gotta think about Lou, like one of the best coaches out there, very well respected. I've seen him on many a podcast of past and present players, and the respect that they have for this man is unbelievable. His come up, his story even is great, and he deserves. You know what I mean? As much as he's put into the Clippers organization, he deserves to win with them. He deserves to have to look back at that process of understanding that we have Kawhi and Paul George and how we can never get them on the court together because of this injury with Kawhi being out and Paul George being out and Paul George coming back but only able to give us a few minutes. Like, that's great. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot going on. And now you're able to sit there and say, we have James Harden to take some of that pressure off. And you got to understand. I know a lot of people probably sitting there thinking about, so who's playing defense? You know, what's going on with that? Are we just, Coach D'Antonian and out here? We just going to be running? We just going to be outscoring everybody? Because, you know what I mean? But don't forget, Kawhi Leonard plays defense. Paul George plays defense. Like, it's not just all going to be about offense. Those are two players that are very well known to be two-way players. James Harden has been better, I would say, in the past couple of years. But the main thing is, and let's address this because it's another elephant in the room that we got to address. So it's pretty crowded in here. But at the same time, it's like James Harden in the playoffs. What are we gonna get? We've seen him in the playoffs with Embiid, the MVP of the league, not show up. You know what I mean? Like, not Embiid. Let me not let you get that messed up. I'm talking about James Harden. We've seen it with the Houston Rockets, putting up, I don't know, was that 21 threes or something like that? And after a while, it's like, I know, you got to shoot yourself out of it, but at the same time, when you're in the playoffs and you like this close to beating the Golden State Warriors, that, that's kind of a coaching thing too, because you got to be like, James, like, stop, like, expletive, stop, like, it's gotta stop. we about to lose, man. It's like, stop. And then I'm saying, you're playing with MVP and you don't show up. So it's like, what more do you want? Right? I get it from a fan standpoint. You know what I mean? It's like, what more do you want? And I don't know what was going on. I can't tell you. I don't know if it was because, he already knew that Daryl Morey wasn't giving him what he promised. I don't know. And is that being a professional? No, of course not. But mentally, if we're really trying to be honest, though, we can sit there and say these guys are professionals, they make all this money and yada, yada, yada. And we already know. They make the money. Okay, we get it. Put that aside. You're watching the game anyway, right? Okay. So we can't sit there and act like there's no emotions behind it. And I'm not trying to sit there and say that he's like purposely, tapped out. Like, he's like, yo, I'm not. This game is just like, I'm just going to go through the motions. I'm not trying to say that. I don't think that that's what happened. But I do believe that mentally you can check out. Like, you could feel some type of way and it's weighing heavy on your mind and maybe you don't mean to it, for it to like really manifest itself on the court. But sometimes that's what happens. Like, that happens in anything that you even do, throughout the day. Something happens, you get into an argument, all of a sudden you go into work and you have that mindset, and you don't mean to do certain things or say certain things or feel certain things, but because you're not really aware of the fact that, you still kind of tight about this over here, right? Because, it went on in the summertime and we kind of all got blindsided by it. I'm like, this dude's in China, nobody's even thinking about James Harden at the moment. And all of a sudden you're going viral for calling your GM, Daryl Morey, a liar. So that was like a big thing. That was like, whoa, like, dude, like, what are you even talking about right now? They were like, yo, they gave you your money, they gave you the extension, I know you took the pay cut. Like, I'm not trying to, because that was like a big thing, and James Harden was like, yo, I'm taking the pay cut. I think it was like just for 3 more years. I'm about winning, I'm about the team. Everything is going to be about, pretty much Joel Embiid, making his push to, getting MVP, and doing exactly what Doc Rivers at the time, exactly what he wanted, and kind of just sticking to it and not deviating. Now, unfortunately, that didn't translate so much in the playoffs, which is something that we've always criticized James Harden for not doing. But Joel did get the MVP, and obviously that had a lot to do with the team because, in order to win MVP, your team has to put you in the position. You know what I mean? Because if your team's against you, that's gonna be a losing battle every time. Especially when you got a guy like Jokic that people are making that argument for about possibly three-peating, and I don't think, I don't like the idea of like, what is it, voters fatigue, like we get tired of, making you the winner. If you're the winner, you're the winner. If you're tired of it, then play better and beat them. Like, that's kind of what competitive professional sports is all about, for me. But I feel like the team and everybody and the coach and everybody had a plan for the Philadelphia 76ers, as well as for Joel Embiid becoming MVP, and all those things happened. But unfortunately, when they lost, of course, who they lost to, the Celtics again, that didn't help. So at the same time, it was like, man, this is exactly why Doc got fired. It was like a lot of domino effect that went on, that kind of people weren't really paying it, or at least wasn't making the connections. I mean, they knew probably Doc was gonna go. They already knew that, and people were just going crazy on Doc after he got fired. And but I think he's just taking off. I think he's just taking off some time. Like, he's just gonna do TV for a while, break down the game, be an analyst. Because I think he's great. He's gonna end up on a team. I'm not worried about it. And if he doesn't end up on a team, it's probably because he's done with it. He's tired of the catering, and this guy wants to go to Vegas for the weekend even though it's the middle of the playoffs. And again, I'm talking about James Harden. So I, like, as a fan, I totally get the frustration of him, like, you know what I mean. And especially if you're not performing, like, it's not like you like Dennis Rodman when you go to do those things. And then Dennis Rodman, we never had a problem with Dennis with Dennis Rodman on the court. Like, he did his thing, grabbing 20 rebounds, everybody. He didn't need to grab points. That wasn't his role. His role to play defense and to go get them boards, and he did it. James Harden, on the other hand, he did all X, Y, and Z, but the problem is he didn't show up. So that was the issue. So at the end of the day, you have to put all those things together, and then I get why a lot of y'all, came to the conclusion that you did about James Harden, but it does not take away from the fact that the LA Clippers are going to be dangerous, and that does put some pressure on the Lakers and everybody else. That, I mean, I don't want to sit there and not talk about the Denver Nuggets, because that's disrespectful. Because what they're doing and what they did opening night, especially against the Lakers, let them know, like, listen, that wasn't luck. That wasn't, I mean, it couldn't have been luck anyway. They swept them for, come on. Like, but I just mean, like, they just let them know, like, listen, we still on top. You guys haven't done enough yet to knock us off. And until y'all do, like, that's it. And I know a lot of people were also mentioning that James Harden should have went to the Lakers, and that would have been like them getting rid of Russell and them figuring out the rest of the lineup. But the Lakers probably didn't want to do that, maybe based off of history alone. But from what I've seen so far with the Lakers, and that's the tiniest of sample sizes because the season just started, and I understand that, but you can see certain things from the Lakers, and I do believe the Lakers could have used James Harden 100%. I mean, I feel like him being on a team with LeBron forces him to elevate his game to another level in terms of not shooting, not just being that facilitator and scoring when need to. Driving and kicking, doing all these things, even playing hard, getting those rebounds, right? Playing hard on defense. You're going to feel that pressure of championships, Lakers organization, 17 championships tied with the Celtics. We're trying to go to another level. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I think that could have made that difference. But that didn't happen. He's with the Clippers. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And to see, I mean, hopefully there's no more drama. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the NBA drama is pretty crazy. But it's like, I want to see competitive basketball. Because so far, that's all I've seen from other teams, out there just balling and trying to get to that next level. Like, I love the way Jason Tatum's playing and the Celtics and Jaylen Brown. I told y'all, they still figure it out. And KP, I'm telling you, the Celtics are dangerous. The Bucks, they're figuring it out. I know Dame didn't have that great game, second game, but then he came, bounced back, and acted like nothing ever happened. Like, it's okay, guys. Everything's all right. Like, I'm going to put up another, 25 plus, Guys are still figuring it out. Like, and not to mention, guys are still trying to, get back into that mid-season form, and that's gonna take a bit. But at least you can see the effort. You can see how things will work. But right now, for me, the Celtics, I told you, the Bucks and the Celtics for me, it's crazy. Right now in the West, I mean, it just depends. I just feel like right now it's just too wide open. I mean, you can always go with the reliable Golden State Warriors. Of course, you're gonna have the Nuggets in contention because they're the reigning champs, and you want to put the Lakers up there, but I'm like, I don't know, because LeBron is having to play way too many minutes, and you really don't know what you're going to get out of Anthony Davis, and you want to see other guys step up, like, Austin Reeves, and there's just so many other guys that need to be a part of the Lakers, so that way LeBron does not have to keep doing it. Like, he can't, like Hachimura, like, these guys need to elevate their game. I'm telling you, like, because otherwise, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad mainly because it's the same way we talk about the Cowboys, and when you have all these high expectations and when they're not met, right? I mean, that's kind of what it's gonna be like. For the Clippers, on the other hand, it's just gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting, and I'm telling you guys, it's probably, at some nights, it's probably not going to even be fair, because if James Harden does concede to not trying to be that number one scorer and kind of just let Paul George and Kawhi do their thing when he's like the third option, I'm telling you, man, that's gonna be fun to watch, and that's about it. But I already see some people commenting, because I already told them I was gonna put this episode up in a little bit, and they already kind of know my thoughts on it. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It's gonna be crazy. I don't have a pick yet, and this is why I don't like making picks in the beginning of the season before the trade deadline. Because this is the stuff that happens. Because now nobody's really talking about the Clippers, and now all of a sudden we got to talk about the Clippers, right? So that's just what it is. I mean, is it going to be one of these years for the Clippers where they can finally say, where Steve Ballmer, like one of the best, governors in the league right now? It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. And Luka Doncic, he's putting up monster numbers, but who's surprised by that? I know a lot of people are upset that Kyrie's not playing just yet, but he is injured. He has I think it's a sprain. So it's like, hopefully when he gets back, and you can kind of see how the Mavs are gonna really pan out, so they can have that full season together to really see how that's going to work, and how they're gonna compete in this crazy West. Because if you're a West team, man, it's crazy. But I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. Happy Halloween to you guys. I may put on something a little later, just for the kids, whatever, and they come by or whatever. But other than that, like, y'all have fun. Y'all have fun, have some candy, do whatever, parties, whatever it is. I'm gonna be watching some games, I'll tell you that tonight. But most of all, guys, I only ask y'all to do one thing. Just remember this: losses equals life lessons.
Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay on your ground. You bustin' your rounds, nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason? It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.